In.
Pushed around.
When you get it back.
Another thing I want to talk to you about.
What's that?
After the meeting, I
Sure.
reminded me to ask you something.
That's fine. I can do that.
Well, I'll probably forget. Uh-oh. Everybody be good. Pear's here.
Eric enticed him.
What did I do?
You enticed him to be here.
Bear.
Who did I entice to be here?
Pear.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Pear? Did I entice you?
At Lions, or at Kiwanis, you said he hadn't written anything mean about
Oh,
you.
that's
Oh,
right.
that's a good point. That's a good point. What you're saying is I provoked him. That's what you're saying.
There you go.
I provoked him.
I'm gonna say, Pear's gonna be here no matter what, pretty sure.
Oh, I remember that. See you in the dunk tank here.
What's that?
See you in the dunk tank.
When does that come up?
When does that come up?
Yeah.
You guys missed it last year. They haven't asked me to do it this year, so you may have missed your opportunity.
Maybe Jeff's in it this year.
No.
Is that at,
Be in the beer tent?
National Night Out?
No, they over Boxcar Days they did that.
Oh.
Somebody was raising money.
Oh, I thought you were talking about.
well,
At one time they did it
maybe for the
National
community
Night
center, we should get a dunk tank and have a few people sit in there.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I think dunk tanks are popular. I really do. They don't cost anything, you know.
I was out at your church Sunday. There was a dunk tank out there.
Out. I know.
Did you go?
No, because I was in Minneapolis.
Oh,
I would have taken the Jill with him out
what
there.
did you spend for out there?
Or the parking lot.
Ooh, you guys got plenty flush with cash, huh?
It's like,
I sit and harass people when I've been at a dunk tank several times. I'll just sit and pick on them the whole time.
Can't get a thing in there.
They start thinking about it. Oh, because I'll sit there and go, oh, you're thinking about hitting it, aren't you? Now you can't throw straight enough to hit that
you
thing.
know, a couple of years ago they had it for National Night Out, and I don't think they've had it for National Night
I don't think so. Not since I've been here.
Out. I don't think
I
so.
think they were. I think I heard Adam say that they rotate that stuff, so they don't do it every
All the
year.
time.
I don't know.
They're still around and out there.
I'm hungry. We should serve dinner sometime.
You know, I've been to council meetings where they had dinner every time. It gets expensive after a while.
Every time they did?
Every time, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yep.
Papers.
As many as we have, it would get quite expensive.
Meetings.
Well, we
yeah.
were meeting weekly too, so think about that.
I was one rich
T-bone
city.
steak.
Wes wasn't rich, just hungry.
Where is Miss Jerry?
Running late.
She'll face you.
She's got 1 minute.
Does she get docked and paid then?
Yeah.
Take a quarter off?
Would it really matter, George?
Probably not to her.
You're so high paid as it is.
That didn't change my tax bracket much.
Do we want to wait a few minutes for her?
We can wait. There she is. I see her across the street. She's coming.
She's got it timed down to a science, you know.
3 seconds before, well, then she just walks in and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep. All right, everybody rise for the pledge.
I'm just already standing.
Everybody always stands when Jerry walks in. Why is that?
We have to call a meeting to order.
Called to order the regular city council meeting for Monday, July 25th. I pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, Tom, you want to do an invocation while you're here? All right. Thought I'd put that out. have any changes to the agenda today?
We do not, Mayor. On the agenda is as you see it in front of you.
Motion to approve is written.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have the employee of the quarter today. And with that, tonight we would like to honor our second employee of the quarter, Sean Torkelson. Sean works in the Public Works Department, and among his many duties is a pool operator. The summer, as many of you know, has been quite a year for the pool, with a chemical imbalance turning the water a pretty shade of purple, unexpected repairs to the pipes that feed the wading pool, and excessive strain on the pool liner. Through all of this, Sean has worked many hours, sometimes late into the night and other times early in the morning, to keep the pool open for our citizens. It is for his dedication to the citizens that we honor Sean tonight as employee of the quarter. Speech? I'm kidding.
It's limited to 10 minutes.
Do you want to ask if Shane wants to say anything?
No, I don't. Shane, do you want to say anything, bud? Do you want to say anything for Sean?
Well, you said it, but
Pam pretty much covered everything on there, but yeah, I just want him, as a supervisor, I want to recognize him for all the time he puts in and say it's a lot of time and effort to keep that place up, especially with the problems we had this year with water changes, with the street projects going on and everything else that affected it. Say it's been a pretty rough year, and we made it look good at Aloha night, and we got everything running. Everything's
Real good.
running fairly good right now. We still have some chemical imbalance issues that we've been fighting, but nothing that anyone notices, thanks to his hard work. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
All right, let's do our usual. You guys know the drill.
You have to go on back.
Yeah, you got to go around the back. Okay.
Should have brought me other
Give you this.
all the way. Thank you, Sean.
Smile pretty.
You guys are good at this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Tracy and
Thank you.
It's almost like they've done it before.
We all just go to our spots.
Did you go to Tracy here?
Thank you, Sean.
Did you go to Tracy?
Yeah, that's why I know. We get past that.
You're a Harvard guy.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to talk about something that is not on the agenda tonight? Oh, hearing none.
Great.
Move on to the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 11th council minutes, approve the municipal accounts payable without breakthrough beverage, approve the municipal accounts receivable, approve the planning committee minutes from June 7th, and approve the resolution 2022-72.
First and second, any further discussion?
I just got a couple
Okay.
questions and one suggested change. On the minutes for July 11th, on the fourth paragraph on the third page where it said increasing the penalty rate per day going forward was discussed. I think it would be better to say increasing the penalty rate per day in a future contract was discussed. Just the way it's worded there, it sounds like we could change something in the current contract. So that was the only thing I had in the minutes. And then just a question on the accounts payable. I noticed that Doria Drost was down for a couple of payments. And is she still working then as the consultant
She is.
on that marketing?
She is still working on as a consultant on that marketing. her load is less than it was, but she's still doing some work for us, yes.
Well, I'm glad she is.
Yep.
Okay, those are the only two
Okay.
things I
Any
had.
other discussion? Roll call, please.
Teagues,
Aye.
Kootman,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Landine,
All right.
Mayor Coleman.
Aye. Do we have a motion with breakthrough beverage?
I'll make a motion to approve accounts payable for Breakthrough Beverage.
I'll second that.
First and second, any discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Landine,
Aye.
Kootman,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Mayor Coleman.
Aye. So then for mayor, council communication, we have the appointment of the partial council seat. And we had two, let me get into there, two applicants. We had Tom Dobson and Tony Peterson.
Yeah, I have to say they're both very good candidates. I don't think we could go wrong with either one of them. I guess my thought is with Tony's experience on the council and that, the learning curve would be a lot quicker, and we're looking at like a 5-month period. And I'm not saying that anything against Tom or anything, because I truly hope both these people will throw their hats in the ring here for the November election. I'm just looking with the budget and that coming up. You know, Tony's gone through city budgeting and stuff like that, and I think he'd be a good candidate.
I think Tom would be an excellent candidate because he brings fresh ideas along with him. And I believe with his credentials, he has plenty of ability to help with budgets, in my opinion. So that's my thought, and I would like to make a motion, if it's time, to do that.
It is time.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Tom as the partial, what do we call him, part-time city,
Partial council seat.
Yes, there you go.
I'll second that.
With the first and second, do we have any further discussion?
You know, I'll also say that I think that we have two really strong candidates here, and we couldn't ask for two better candidates. I give the edge to Tom in this case simply because the deciding factor for me is that one of our major issues is the community center, senior center, and moving forward in the next few months, I think it would be helpful to have kind of a new voice or someone without a previous background with the community center. And I think that will help us move forward on that particular issue. Either one would be a great candidate, but you can only pick one, and that's where I come out, favoring Tom.
Yeah, we definitely have two very good candidates, and we have lots of open spots next coming year. So, did you get a second?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, any other discussion for that? Do we want to do roll call?
Schmidt,
Yes.
Teagues,
Aye.
Koopman,
Yes.
Jones,
No.
and Landay,
Aye.
and Mayor Corman.
Aye. Then we have the park board, the park
I
board.
got a question on this. That's going to give us 3 people on the EDA board.
Well,
Yeah, I thought about that. You're right, council member. We'll have to have an appointment for the EDA board because Tom is currently on it, and that means that he'll be on city council. And so, the general practice for that board has been to advertise. So I think we put an advertisement in the paper tomorrow and see if there's, see what we can do about getting applicants, and maybe we bring that up at the next city council meeting, if that works for everybody.
That works for me, and
No.
I'll graciously step my seat out. But
Well, if you'd like to do that, that's also an option too, but we could change the council appointment, but then you also have to do the citizen appointment at the same time, and
So whatever.
however you all want to do it, it works.
I believe he's doing an excellent job on there, and timing-wise, it'd be okay with me to step down.
Okay.
So we would still advertise for a citizen?
Yeah, we still have to advertise for the seat because you still need to have a citizen. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll move on to the park board.
How many do we need? I didn't catch that in all this.
For the park board?
Yeah.
So we need 4 citizens and 1 council representative. So we have 4 citizens who applied, the same 4 citizens that have already been serving in this capacity. And I didn't ask Seth, but I presume he wants to continue to do it. And so if it's your wish, it's actually fairly straightforward to basically just appoint everybody that's already been doing the job.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion?
Do we need to do individual appointments, or can we just do a group of the 4?
You can just do the slate, of all the applicants. I would say all the applicants plus Seth as the council representative.
That's what I'd like to say, Diane.
Yeah.
No.
Well, actually,
Second.
I apologize. I actually made a mistake when I said that, because I think that we actually have to stagger the terms, and so there's actually some that need to receive 2 of them need to receive a 2-year term, and 2 of them need to receive a 4-year term, and so I apologize. I shouldn't have. I'm glad I caught this at the last minute, but you do need to decide who's going to be on for 2 and who's going to be on for 4.
Melody and Connie for 4 and the other 2 for 2.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Did you hear that,
Do I need to
Melody?
have that in my motion, or?
I think we can consider that a friendly amendment since you said that was okay. So that would be Melody and Connie for 2, and then
No, Melody and Connie for 4.
well, for 4. Sorry.
Yep.
And then Rhonda and Marianne.
Seth forever.
And Seth. But you'll have to do. I mean, that's one of those things where you'll have to do a council
Yearly.
appointment again next year. But Seth forever. That's right.
You're welcome, Seth.
Thank you for accommodating that. My apologies.
Ready for roll call?
Teagues,
Aye.
Koopman,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Jones,
Aye.
Landay,
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye. So it brings us to staff reports. If one of you guys would start bribing me, I'd get you out of here soon.
Mayor, do you have any other mayor and council communications
Oh, I
on
do
any
have
other
one.
topics?
Yes, I do have one. So, we talked about having Southwest Regional Development Committee come and meet with us, and the committee for the the working
Community center.
committee. Yeah. So, he has available August 9th or August 11th. And I noticed that August 9th is the electoral something.
Primary.
Yeah.
The primary is probably not a good night.
So, that would affect me. Or can I step out of it?
Well, I don't know if you can hold a public meeting.
Do during that time?
I actually am not sure we can hold a public meeting during an election night legally,
So we
but
have to do the 11th
I
then?
think we'd have to do the 11th. So what would, I know we talked about it but for purposes of the people, the watching public, you want me to talk about, or would you like to talk about
You can do
what?
it.
So there was a discussion of the community center work group a week or so ago, and the suggestion was made, well, maybe someone from the outside can come in and help facilitate some discussions on, where do we go from here? And I think that, Mayor, you said, well, I hear that SRDC does that kind of work, and I think Seth kind of confirmed that, and then you had reached out to them, and I traded a phone call with Jason Walker at SRDC earlier today, but I hadn't had a chance to talk to him yet. And he, as I understand it, will be willing to come out, but for one time. But if it continues, it's one of those things where you have to pay for it.
$90 an hour.
$90 an hour. So not for the first time. So I think you could have a discussion with him the first time. I wouldn't place a lot of optimism that you're going to get a lot accomplished in one meeting, but it's probably worth it to, at least talk to him, right?
And it would be a time for the citizens of Tracy, if they wanted to come to that meeting, if they want to find out anything more about it, or...
I think that's really important, Mayor, because, I think it was said by the citizens themselves that are on the work group that they really want to send the message that this is not just a community center for, the group of people who currently use it to play cards, but they really envision this as a larger, center for all of the community. They've said that. And so I think it's important that, if you're going to get feedback, from folks that you include whatever that larger all of community is. So it's probably important, for people to be engaged if they're interested in this issue, for sure. Yep.
It's time to step up and be engaged.
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be difficult to get anything done without a lot of citizen involvement, for sure.
So what time?
Can we discuss that date
Mhm.
of the 11th? I unfortunately would not be able to come on the 11th.
Were those the only 2 days he gave you?
Well, that was the...
Far out as
We
you
can-
went.
Yeah, it's kind of, I said the next couple of weeks, because that's what they asked. So we want to see, I can come and see about the week after that. How's that work for you, Seth, on the week after that?
Next week is better. I mean, don't plan around me, but it just, like 11th is out for me.
How does the week, how does the 11th work, or the week after that for anybody else?
Week
Mon-
after's better for me, but
Might want to go 2 weeks out just in case. I will tell you that I was going to mention it later tonight. Yeah, I would say dates in August. I was going to mention it to the city council, but I'm planning on being out the week of the 15th, that following week, to help my kids move into school, and I'll be in Texas and Colorado that week at different times. So I wouldn't be available, but you don't need to have me there. We could have other staff representation.
And you're gone that whole week?
I'm gone that whole week, yeah. It's an odyssey to get that done.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
Well, if it gets too far out, let's unfortunately have it on the 11th. And Miss Seth, which is bad because he always has good input, but otherwise the next week's all out, so then we're getting down into the 22nd.
That's right. I know, it's getting a
So
little...
towards the end of the month. Maybe we can hook you up live, you can watch us on the TV or something. Skype or whatever you call that. That's just my opinion, because
Does the 18th work for most of us here?
Just ask them for whatever dates in August they have available. Don't limit the weeks at this point, just see what dates he has available, and then you can send out an email.
We can send out an email. We can also, if we're talking about dates in August, past August 8th, our next council meeting is August 8th, so it would be pretty easy to set the meeting on the 8th of August too as well, so. But yeah, we can do that. I can I owe him a phone call back tomorrow anyway, so
Okay,
I
well
can,
then you'll ask him about.
I'll ask him about other dates in August too.
Okay.
I'd rather know the options before the 8th when we're sitting here, because sometimes I won't remember it.
Yeah, I'd rather have you email them out to him. That's okay?
Yep, sounds great.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for mayor council communication? Okay. Staff reports?
Yep.
Tamara, you wanna go?
She always gets to go first.
Well, she has to get up at 3 in the morning and go to get something for
So June, sales were good in June. We were above our budget a little bit. Aloha Night, well, I should go, Burgers, Bands, and Brews, we'll talk about that one. We believe that it was successful. We had
Put 280 tickets.
I was gonna say, I thought we had 200 and something tickets done. The community appreciated it. They responded well with it, and hoping to do it again next year and get more involvement. I believe they're still working on getting some sponsorships, right? So we haven't got the whole thing figured out yet as far as the donation and that kind of thing on that one. Pleased and proud to announce that the Boxcar Liquors was awarded one of Beverage Dynamics Top 100 Retailers of the United States. But due to shortages, I can't show it to you yet because they have to mail it to me in the mail. Just like the last time we got an award, they mailed it to me in the mail. Aloha Night went over really well. A lot of people had a good time. Thank you for the extra help, you guys, for, we had a bigger crowd than we did the year before, was what we were hoping for, and a bigger crowd again next year. What?
Yay, it was warm.
Yeah. People swam, they had a good time. Trey Bradley from Blue Chair Bay was there, and he had a great time, and people enjoyed talking with him as well. So yeah, it was a good. We of course haven't got that figured out yet either because it's pretty new. We're actually going to get our cooler home finally that we've been wanting to for the last. We bought a cooler from Underwood Liquor Store for a really good price. A 3-door cooler, and Jeremy and I are finally going to get that early tomorrow morning. And otherwise, anybody have any other questions or concerns, problems?
Pam, how are your, you feel like your hours are adequate now? You hit
Oh,
the sweet
yeah,
spot on your hours?
Definitely back to the summer hours, especially with the daylight and that kind of thing. It's nicer to have the later hours for people. They have made the comment of that. We are down another employee, though. We always seem to be down an employee. So we're in the process of looking for another part-time employee right now. Kind of forgot about that, but. So if you know of anybody that wants a part-time job, tell them to come on in and fill out an application.
Okay, and you're
probably.
closing now what time in the evening?
So we're open from 10 to 9 weekdays and 10 to 10 on weekends, and 11 to 5 on Sundays.
So people come in at 9:45 on Saturday night.
Sometimes. They all fly in there at the last minute.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
You might have a better question between 9 and 9:45, but yeah. Oh yeah, we definitely, especially summer hours and it's still light outside and people are busy and working later because of the lightness and that kind of thing, so definitely.
Okay. And there's been some discussion about moving this or adding to the signage out front. How's that coming along, Dan?
And the talking stages. Actually, Eric and I just talked about that again today. Thinking the electrical sign and that kind of thing that we're looking at would be a marketing tool to help bring outsiders, bypassers in. So.
You might add some detail on
Oh,
that.
definitely.
So we had a electronic sign company come in and kind of show us their stuff. It's like a $40,000 deal though. So it's very significant. This is not the kind of thing you want to do, take lightly, which is why we're still in the talking stages. They've said that they think that it increases sales, and I could see that if you use it right. We're not sure yet at this point because it's a significant investment
I
about
was
whether that's
shocked
a
by how
good
much
idea.
it was. Yeah.
So there may be a future discussion about that. There probably will be. The taxpayer should know this would all come from liquor store sales. It wouldn't come from the general taxpayers. But I think there's probably some value in it. We've just got to figure out what and how much, whether it makes sense.
Would that be one that you probably would put up a sale on something?
Yeah, you can put up a sale.
At your
Yep.
Plus, we can actually advertise like city type stuff
Sure,
we talked
we can do
about
that
too
too.
on there.
Yep.
Would it be like the one at Subway, the Lion?
Something
It
like
would
that.
be, yes, be similar to that, except that one's a little older. The technology has gotten better now, so it would even be clearer than that. Yes. Yes, very
And we-
similar to that.
I'm sorry, and we talked about it being like lower, because it's like when you're driving down the highway, we've had discussions about the sign so high that people don't see it. I've had lots of compliments and people saying, we had a nice sign from the beer company for Aloha Night, and people actually noticed it and saw it and commented on it because they don't notice the other sign up so high, kind of a thing. But yeah, I was totally shocked at how much this sign was, but
There's also a lease option for it too, and we want to evaluate that, and so you wouldn't have to pay all that up front, but of course you'd have to pay, some interest associated with that. So, we're not sure. We definitely need some kind of sign on the front of the building, and that's substantially less.
I thought that's what we were looking at, was
We're looking
something
at
for our
both.
building.
We're looking at both.
Yeah.
We're looking at both, and the front of the building sign has been complicated a little bit by the fact that what we really would like to do is do something that, from a branding standpoint, feels like the inside. You kind of have this, rustic, kind of, boxcar look, and so. We could slap up any old sign, but we want to put something that looks a little more custom up there. So we're trying to figure out how to do that. And I know Tam's had some discussions with people in town about building something, and honestly, there's been a lot of work that's been put into some of these events that's been happening this summer, and then the economy has affected our sales, and so we've been focusing on some other things. So. Yes, that's going to happen, but it's all part of kind of this bigger discussion about how do we market the liquor store.
I just don't know if we need to have another sign to advertise community events when we've got the Lions one.
Yeah.
I'd rather us spend the money on definite signage for boxcar liquors.
Right, and so if it's, I think we don't do it just for the community sign. We do it if we think it's going to increase sales.
Yeah.
It's the only reason to do it, as far as I'm concerned.
I
Not convinced. I don't know yet.
I think the visibility on the curb is a lot better than tacking it onto the building, because coming out of the west, you do not see that building
That's true.
because of trees. Coming out of the east, you got a little better chance to see it, but I think curbside is the best way to go.
I think both of
It
them.
might cost us more money, but
I don't think it's an either or. I think we can do both, But obviously the electronic sign is a lot more expensive. A lot more expensive.
How about a less costly option of those wind sock type flag things? There's a name for them. Help me out.
yeah, and I've
We get like a big purple ape or something like that, or
Not
maybe a
not an ape.
snowman
I
or
was-
something. I'm just teasing. I know
I
what
was,
you're
I was
talking
thinking
about.
the
Big
spray
blow up,
things.
I have, we have looked into those, just the fact that people for know when we're open kind of a thing, but it's not really a permanent kind of situation that we need, but I have looked at those just so people know we're open and we're there kind of a thing.
Possibly we could get, don't listen to you, distributors to help pay for the sign if we're advertising their product on it.
I agree with you.
Me too.
Absolutely, that's what we
Won't
should do.
happen.
Absolutely.
They should pay us a little bit.
Salesman could kick in then.
If we're gonna put Bud Light on there, or Coors Light or something, we need to.
I'll
get paid for
forewarn you, it can't be done. Because then you're buying for space, and that's illegal.
Yeah, but you know as well as I do, they give the advertising allowances for these things.
Well,
They do donations.
They buy it for space in grocery stores.
No, they don't.
They don't call it that, but it's just called something else. It's an advertising allowance. And frankly, I think the beer distributor should give us an advertising
I
allowance.
do too.
They won't.
I think the wine should kick in more yet.
They really won't.
Well,
we're not going to solve the problem tonight. I'm glad to hear you're wrestling with the problem.
Yeah.
We are definitely talking about that all the time. So, like I said, I was just totally shocked how much that sign cost. In fact, I budgeted $8,000 and it came like $30,000.
one thing about leasing, when that lease is up, we're moved up to the next best, greatest technology. Something to think about.
We would own it essentially at that point.
Oh,
So it's more like a lease to own.
lease.
It's really a loan, honestly, is what it is.
But we wouldn't have to come up with $40,000.
Right. But we'd have to, Krista could do that kind of calculation. Does it make sense to buy it up front, or does it make sense to lease it? You know, what do we do? Because ultimately you're buying it either way. It's a question of, do you want to pay the interest?
So actually Walnut Grove is buying from the same company that we looked at, but we actually are going to look at a couple other companies to try to get a comparison. You know, not just go with one company, but they're a little busy over there right now, so he didn't have time to talk to me yet. Yeah, so, but yes, definitely looking for it, and definitely looking into hopefully sprucing up the outside of the building somewhat for curb appeal as well, is what we've been discussing too. So thank you for asking, Seth.
Anybody else have questions for Dan? Okay, good job. And if anybody out there in the public is looking for a part-time job or looking for a clerk at the liquor store, Shane, do you need to get out of here?
I'm all right for now. So I'll say, I got a resolution at the end here. I can answer questions.
Jason?
Good evening. Don't have much for you tonight. The 2022 squad is about 90% complete, but it is in service and patrolling the streets right now. So we're waiting on a few parts, and who knows when they'll actually get here. And so, but it is in service and functioning and working for the city. So we'll wait and see, and it'll get finished off whenever things arrive. So.
I was looking through this, and I'm sure it's surprising you that I'm looking at this, Jason, but the unsecured building in this one report was 10.
Last year?
Was that last year?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, okay. See, that's how close I looked at it.
Yep.
I thought, boy, that's quite a few.
Yep. You know, and sometimes it just seems to kind of be a rash of that, you know, people forgetting to lock their doors and that kind of thing. So sometimes we catch them and sometimes we don't. And
Jason, is the
apparently
old
that month we
squad
caught
up
more.
north now?
Pardon me?
Did you take the old squad up north?
The old squad sold on auction.
What did? So it's gone from town?
It's gone. Yep.
So that was that $5,700 item?
Sounds right.
Listed in the financial.
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yep.
And that's a little different than how the previous squad car was handled when the surplus, I think. Was that the difference because we were using that as an extra city vehicle?
But we didn't. So we actually sold it about a year ago anyway.
Right. I know we sold that.
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, on ordinance violations, we had about 14. Was that the nuisance ordinance?
No. Oh, you're looking at last year. The 14 was, yes.
There's 14 on one officer and It says ordinance violation and then. yeah.
You're looking at 2021 versus 2022.
Oh, okay, all right.
So the ordinance violation on 2022 is 1 compared to the 14, but we haven't, we've been working on a different system, and we're not totally up and running on that yet, so.
Okay, so just different jibing. I mean, as far as recording them.
No, not necessarily. We're working on a new software program and a new way of handling them, and so that's why you're seeing the ordinance violation that you're seeing on the report would be something that was reported and then was taken care of.
Okay. How about Jason, on the new state law and it's going to allow the hemp-based products to be sold, CBD products. Do you have any concerns about that?
I'm seeing some chatter amongst other police chiefs about how the city's going to do regulations and how they're going to tax it and how they're going to, basically like alcohol sales, who's going to regulate testing to make sure they're not selling it to the wrong people. So there's quite a...
Yeah.
Matt actually sent an email a couple days ago, about this issue, and I hadn't shared it with people yet because I was thinking about it. But some of the other communities are, putting in moratoriums on those kinds of sales and things like that, and determine whether or not you want to regulate it or tax it, just like Jason is talking about. But we haven't, as a staff, had any internal conversations about whether we want to do that, what we propose. I'm just not sure. I went through a lot of this in Colorado because, of course, marijuana as a whole, recreationally, is completely legal in Colorado now. And so there were several different iterations of that. First, you kind of had medical, and then little pieces at a time. And it was kind of the wild, wild west, and ended up putting multiple moratoriums on it, and you had to limit where they were sold and what they were sold in. So there might be some benefit to that, but then again, we're kind of a small city at the same time, and is it worth creating all this rigmarole for permitting and everything else for something that's probably not going to affect us that much? I don't know. Jason and I have not had a conversation about this at all. This is kind of a new thing. And so if you'd like us to bring some options back to you, we could certainly do that, but I was afraid somebody was going to ask that question eventually. Because it means we're going to have to talk about it.
Well, personally, I think it's better to just get a little bit ahead of the curveball and find out what some issues might be. And since I'm glad to hear that you have some experience in that.
I wouldn't say that I'm glad to say that I had experience in it, but yeah, I do have some experience in regulating marijuana with what we were doing in Colorado. What I would say the easiest thing to do would basically be to just put a moratorium on any sales. But of course that means that Jason then has to enforce that, right? Because if somebody starts selling it, then he has to go out and stop them. And so you just, you got to think about these things. So, but that's generally the procedure. Now, communities that put moratoriums on it, they basically are assuming they're going to eventually regulate it. And so then you have to spend that time. A moratorium can't be permanent. So you have to spend that time figuring out how you want to regulate it, if at all. So I wouldn't put a moratorium on it unless you were intending on doing something. It's a lot to consider. Welcome to the 21st century.
Still waiting for jets and cars to come. Anybody else have any questions for Jason? If not, thank you, Jason.
All right, just mention the National Night Out is coming up on the 2nd, so hope to see you all there. we're expecting some really good things this year, so get that plug in. Have a good night.
Good job, thanks.
Val, do you want to go?
We are still in our busy summer at the library. I think the only thing I have to add for you tonight is that we do have 5 artists who've submitted work for the teen art exhibition now. We had not set a date yet for the open house, but keep your eyes out for that. It should be really fun. So, other than that, do you have any questions?
So you got some teenagers down for that art afternoon.
Yeah, we have. Well, do you mean the crafternoon classes?
Yeah.
Yeah, last time, I think we had 1 teenager and the rest were adults who participated in the last one. And registrations are open now for the August one.
That's good to see. So you have is that a kind of a new official library logo?
Yes, we got that when we did the new website. For the new website, had to choose colors and all that, so.
And then that grant for the author that you brought out to the vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason then the 4 libraries went together is just it was easier to submit the application or better success of getting her out here with cooperative venture?
Kind of all of the above. It's, with 4 different libraries promoting the event, it increases your base of people who might attend. And it's mostly just to split the cost. You'll see that a lot with the libraries that, someone's doing a program, so they send it out and say, does anyone else want to do this? They'll chop off $100 if they can get 2 to do a program that day or whatever. So basically we just split the cost of the author and the mileage that she charges to come. But we had a great turnout. It was really fun. We're already talking about doing something similar next year or maybe even sooner.
And you naturally have some of her books in the library.
Yes.
Right? And she's pretty popular.
Yeah, she has been here before. I think around 6 years ago. It was a similar thing where a few different libraries went together, and she came to the Breezy Barn that time. They were doing a hot dish cook-off competition that time, so it fit in well with her books.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
Thanks. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Every one of you 3 want to hop up here next.
Oh, look at him go.
I'm like, look at
I haven't seen him move that quick in quite a while.
Yeah.
I didn't jump in the pool, at least. I've got 4 things I'd like to just report on tonight real quickly, each one of them. It's Orchard Lanes, O'Brien Court, the swimming pool, and the multi-purpose center. I'll start out with O'Brien Court just to kind of say we're in the same place. We're still waiting for the hard copy email or that says that Sanford is going to cut short the 180-day period for them occupying O'Brien Court after, and then we will sign the purchase agreement. So we're kind of waiting for that right now. So that's really no new news that that you didn't get reported to you on the last one, but there hasn't been anything. There wasn't anything last week, and I didn't see anything today yet. So that is coming soon, and then we would move, once that's a signed copy, we would move into the inspection stage from the new owner, or the new potential owner. But everything looks good with everything's been agreed on for the purchase agreement. Orchard Lanes, we've had a couple things, water heater go out there this past week, and we've also, I don't know if I announced it the last time, but here about 4 or 5 months ago, we had put in one set of new carpets. That's kind of what we're budgeting for out there, is new carpets, since they're all 12 years old now. Some of the apartments are worse than others. Because of foot traffic, obviously, and then we're gonna budget for a couple of those to be replaced this coming year. Also, Orchard Lane's waiting list. I spent some time here late last week on the waiting list out there. There was people added, people subtracted, and I was just keeping track by hand, and I kind of got a hold of everybody that had a phone number on there. And right now, we have 13 people on the Orchard Lane's waiting list. Doesn't mean that if we had 13 openings, we'd have 13 people moving in, but it would be people that wanted to be on the waiting list. So if anybody does move out there in the next, this in 2020, the rest of 22 or 23, we're not going to have any trouble filling those vacancies, so, which is nice. But it's good to have an updated list now of 13 of them. Okay. Swimming, we didn't, in June, we didn't get a chance to, or I didn't get a chance to talk about it a little bit, so I'm going to give you just a few numbers from the opening night that we had the open house here. We had the numbers for swimming lessons was up a few. We were a little bit worried because we raised the price, which we raised the price where it needed to go. But even with that, we had an increase in the number of swimming, the people that were taking swimming lessons out there. The difference is we went from last year around $6,000 in swimming lessons to closer to $8,000 in swimming lessons for the current year that we're in.
How many participants was it?
There was 150 last year, and then the number that I had gotten before was 153. I know there was some that were added to that, so I don't know exactly what it was going to be, but I would say right around that 160. And then of course we had raised the price. We had raised the price also for the pool parties, and we got a couple more of them this year. So there's going to be some excess money that'll come in to offset some of the money that we've spent out there. It's been very expensive out there this year. It's tough to do a budgeting process with unexpecteds that need to be done. You know, you have to do it to keep it going, and we've had plenty of unexpected things out there. So at least we're offsetting a little bit of that with some of the money that has come in. We've got, again, a couple more pool parties that have brought in some money. When we're starting to charge by the hour, it helps us out a little bit too. The pool will be closing on August the 21st, and I can tell you that we're going to really struggle the last probably 4 days of the swimming pool being open because of the college students leaving and the high school students that are in their activities already. So we're that last week I'll be running the EDA and community development from the swimming pool and selling ice cream bars at the same time. So, but that's all right. It's actually fun to be out there. Sell
one, eat one, huh?
Yeah, sell one, eat one. There we go. Well, you know, if they're just going to throw them away, we might as well get them eaten. One of the things that we got to work on early this coming year that I've talked to Shannon about is attracting new lifeguards earlier than even in February. We really need to start talking to people right away in September and October about the good job it is, and let the people that are out there right now really recruit for us. Eric and I have talked about some things that we can enhance the lifeguard job out there. It's not that it's a hard job, but you need a responsible kid, but it's also, you know, they pay for their own training, they pay for their own swimsuits and everything, and so it's something that Eric and I are actually currently working on. So all in all, it's been pretty good out there. You know, we haven't had the bad water quality has kept us closed a couple times, but hasn't been any bad weather, unfortunately. So we could use a couple of those days where it'd be a few inches of rain. It was closed today because of 65 degrees and sprinkles and rain. So, and you can ask questions. And the multi-purpose center, like normal, it slows way down in the summertime. In fact, had a meeting with Linda, who was kind of the lead over there, and we're not currently doing anything over there on Tuesdays and Thursdays now, not until September sometime. So it was getting to the point where we were wanting to have somebody there on Tuesday and Thursday just to come in, to make sure nobody showed up. But then it gets to the point where I can't bring somebody in, especially if it's Olivia that has to drive, 15 miles round trip to come in here and sit for 30 minutes and nobody shows up. So there's nothing really going on over there on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then on Saturdays, it goes down to usually about 2 Saturdays a month for their open house, or their potluck, and their it escapes me what the other one is. So yes, so we're a little bit slow over there right now, but it'll pick up hopefully in September for the card players over there. Okay. Any questions on those 4 things? Well, you know what? I'm sorry, I do have one more thing. Since I know Eric's going to be talking about Burgers, Bands, and Brew, and it's already been talked about with how well we did with Aloha Night. That's a lot of that is adults coming to town, and the extra people with the 250 people at Burgers, Bands, and Brews. The other night we had a great crowd out there. It was a blast. Diane worked her butt off, but it was hard. But I also like to talk a little bit about the movie nights. That first movie night we had on June the 3rd, we had 175 kids and adults in there that showed up out there that night. Now, granted, the bouncy houses bring people out of the woodwork, but the fact is they came, they stayed, and they ate a crap load of popcorn, and it's just I love to see all of those kids out there that and maybe some of them don't get to go to a movie or whatever, but there's a night that they can come out there and you can use that park. That park is getting used down there. Central Park is getting used to the utmost. So we need to continue on that. I wanted to thank Eric and Val for helping out on the second movie night because I was gone. So we had Sandy had family in town, so they had nearly 100 people there that night. And we have our last movie night on August the 19th. Don't know what the movie is yet. I'm going to be working on that late this week and early next week, but probably going to have something that will be some kind of animated musical type of thing for the 19th on that Friday night. So we're going to see if we can afford to be able to bring the bouncy houses again, because that seems to, again, that brings a lot of kids out right away from 6:30 to 8:30. I'm having a lot of fun doing that. And it's good for the community that we're bringing. You think of the number of people in the events that we've had, thousands of people that we brought here for those events. Makes Tracy a better place to live all around. So, any questions on all that?
I have a question on the pool.
Okay.
So, is it something that they can do like once a month that promotes like the adult swim, like they can come in and play volleyball and do other?
We've talked about it, and that's all we've done so far is talked about it. We've brought in a lot of the events right now slowly, and I will tell you, I was very surprised last Friday night that we had 15 people in the pool, because I was willing to bet at our last meeting, I was wanting to throw $5 in the pot for everybody, whoever got closest to the number of people in the pool, and I'd have lost. Because I'd have thought maybe 2 or 3.
How does that work for our pool ladies then that work all day and then have to work late night?
It's something, George, we're going to have to start recruiting again. Am I worried about this coming year? Yes, because I don't know how many of the college students will be coming back. The first year it's always fun to come back, back to your hometown after you go to college, but usually it's your sophomore year going into your junior and that type of, you start losing your college students because they're not lifeguards anymore. They're staying right at college to do their thing. So you got to have that. So Shannon does a fantastic job. She's got to juggle, those 16 kids, and with their schedules and vacations and everything else, it's a struggle. I mean, as we're going to run into at the end of this last week of that we're going to be open. We'd love to stay open through Labor Day. We'd love to. Just unless we don't have, you don't have adult ones and kids that are starting football and and everything else, it's not possible.
Jeff, for an evening night like Aloha Night, and are we meeting all the safety requirements of guards being able to see into the bottom of the pool when it starts getting dark, so that if someone would go unconscious, that we'd see them?
I feel we are, yes. Well, we had two of them there, plus Shannon, that has hung around right by the pool the whole night. And then there was the slides are off limits because it's.
But I mean the lights in the pool, up around the pool. Can you see the bottom of the pool?
Oh yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Good. And then another question about the pool. Have we been doing any special marketing efforts over in Walnut Grove to try and capture the pageant crowds?
Well, we haven't done any for the pageant crowds or anything, but we've actually got there is a group that has come from over there that has been from the Westbrook or the Walnut Grove area, that they brought kids over in a bus. Yeah. Also, the one of the pool parties was all the areas, all the law enforcement. That was the Friday night before. Okay. Yeah. So we got that. It's just, again, during the day would be fine. We're going to struggle getting more and more nights unless we get more and more lifeguards.
No, I'm referring specifically to the families that are coming to Walnut Grove for the weekend and to see the pageant at night. Are we getting some of those people at our pool on Saturday afternoon?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't have a poster over there and some things over there at the museum, we should.
Oh, yeah, I couldn't. Yeah, right off the top of my head. The crowds have been good out there. I know that.
Good. And then concessions. I know that's important to the profit building for the pool. Have we been doing okay in the concession department?
We brought in a pizza oven or a pizza warmer. And then we get Casey's Pizzas that bring it out there, and then we sell them at the same price that Casey's would be selling them for. And for the first month, and I'll be able to report on that a little bit more on the final one that I'll do in September. It was, obviously it's pretty simple because it's right there in front of you. But it was Shannon felt the first month that the kids were bringing the same amount of money to school. The pizza was getting sold, but she didn't feel it was. But now. What our hope is that there'll be more money sent along just so they can eat there too, instead of sending $5 along for a Gatorade and two candies or an ice cream or whatever. They'll bring $7 along then they can have something to eat there too.
Okay.
So it's been and I believe it was $354. It's a commercial pizza warmer, and they go and they do a good job out there of not over ordering.
Yeah, I know Shannon's very conscientious.
Yes.
And one quick question, Jeff, on your report, you mentioned working on potential plans for the industrial park, and I know that involves the streets and the infrastructure. Have you been making any progress on that at all?
The progress that's getting made on that is the engineering report that we've done, and there's conversations going on with more than one, two, maybe three people that possibly would do something out there, and that's what we can do right now. There's also some other monies that we're actually trying to go after right now also. Nothing that we can really talk about yet, but it's
well, keep working. I think
22 acres of unused land for the last, Ron?
200 years.
200 years. Unused land.
You sure, Ron?
We have to do the engineering on that. We did some preliminary engineering. Our plan is to work with ISG to do some additional engineering and then make some requests to the county of some money. And we're not quite there yet, but we'll get there soon.
We have people visiting town this week again on looking for places. We just have to have the plan, the program, and give them what they need.
It's interesting. I'm just going to add this, and when you're bringing up economic development, when I was up at the League of Minnesota Cities conference a couple weeks ago, there was a presentation that I went to about economic development. there's lots of different ways, to look at economic development. And, kind of the traditional way is, well, let's go find some people to bring some factory to town and 100 jobs. But, we have challenges with that in this community because we don't have anywhere for them to live, first of all. Even if we got 100 jobs into town, and we don't have anywhere to put them, and so what we need to do really is to think about how do we prep the ground for these potential opportunities as they come up, with the water and sewer at the industrial park. So when the wind companies come to town, we're ready, with lots, to provide for them, and we need to focus on, a lot of the other traditional, more modern economic development activities are more about, well, how do we make this community a great place to live? Which is why Jeff is spending so much time on these events and stuff like that. Because, if Tracy becomes the place, wow, that's that great place that has those movies in the park, or they have Aloha Night, or they have, wonderful amenities and all of those things, that keeps people in town. Because what's really keeping us, I think, from accelerating right now is our lack of workforce and our lack of housing. Those are the impediments to, even if Jeff were to get somebody here to town, it's difficult to even find, those things. And so, it's this kind of the makings of an economic development strategy. And I think that, Jeff's doing a great job, with that. But those are all the really, really good questions. But all of these things are related.
Okay, thanks.
So I have one comment on the pool. First of all, I think it's a great idea that they have pizza oven warmer out there, because then they don't just get junk all the time. My other question is, like when you said that they have the bus that's in Walnut, it's like, we should wonder if we could coordinate like Curry and Belton and have the bus just swing and pick them out, and Garvin.
Where they're coming from, I guess we don't keep that close of, besides them knowing them.
But like part of a community ed thing, can't they just say this day we're gonna send a bus to pick up kids in Curry, or do a whole.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
They
know.
could be pairing that with community ed.
Yeah, it was just basically.
That's a good question.
Can't remember who does community ed in town. Is that
Isn't
Tower?
Bill
Bill Tower?
Yeah. Yeah, because
Something to maybe think
it's
about
not
for
just
next year.
Curry, though. Balloton doesn't have a pool, and
Something to think about at least for next year if it's too late for this year.
Yeah.
we can talk to her about that and try to set something up like that. And we're trying to get more and more people to the pool. That's the only thing we can do to help out, offset some of the.
Probably all kinds of people that would like to come there just don't have a ride there. They just pay so much for a bus ride there, and like $5 for the bus ride or something. And anyway, it was an idea.
Any ideas are good ideas.
Anyways, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
You think?
I think. Maybe. We'll see. So I do not have an official department head report. My computer died last week. And I got it back Friday afternoon, so I don't really have anything. Just to let you know, working on the budget right now. That's really my main focus, to get that together. So it's starting to come together really well. And then I will do a quarterly financial report at our next council meeting through the end of June, so we'll have half a year to report on. But other than that, unfortunately, my computer wasn't working with me last week.
Short and sweet.
I'm really short and sweet tonight.
Yeah. You gotta take advantage of that
Oh,
one.
your report too. I was meeting you.
Well, yeah. I know both, right? You buttering me up for something? Eric, the August 15th Capitol meeting, are you going to talk about that with your stuff?
I was gonna cover that if that's okay.
Yep.
Yep.
Just making sure it was on your list.
Yep, it's on my list.
All right, Shane.
So entertain any questions you have on my report. I guess the key things, if anyone's drove by Central Park, we're making some progress on the concrete in the shelter. We just got a little bit of dirt to move around, and they're trying to determine if we should seed it now or maybe wait till fall, because it never rains until, well, I don't really call that rain, but
No, all seed.
I'll see.
other than that, I issued a few more weed notices. We're doing some more enforcement this week for that. Other than that, like I said earlier, when Sean was here, we got the pipe for the water features put in. We got the concrete poured back in. Everybody went to Aloha night, but he saw that it's back together, so everything's functioning there again for now anyway. So I don't know if you had any other questions outside of that.
Under the airport where it said we finally got caught up with mowing.
Yep.
And it's such a huge space. How many acres do you mow out there?
I want to say there's like 60 some that we actually mow.
What's the rule with the state? How high can you let that grass go?
So 12 inches or less is ideal. They kind of want in that 6 to 12 range for bird, and critters to keep them down. If it gets taller than that, they tend to want to migrate back into the tall grass, but they're attracted to shorter grass, but our mower will only let us go to like 4 inches, I think, is the tallest we can keep it. We did leave a small section of the old abandoned runway up. We're just gonna have someone hay that out, collect a little bit of revenue and help us out on the mowing side. But
I was just wondering if you could let it go, the grass get taller, and just save how many times you have to mow that.
right, so it's kind of a tough battle because they got to keep the runway short enough for, they don't affect the planes landing on it.
Right.
So like the runways themselves shorter, then around the lights they want shorter so you can find the lights, but I'd say the rest of the stuff. The problem is we don't really have anything big enough to cut it, and the FAA and MnDOT don't like anything being out for hay within the runway safety areas, which is most of the airport. I'd say except that one little corner we let grow tall, but I think it's maybe a total of 4 or 5 acres. It's not huge, but I guess anything helps.
Not raining would help. Not raining should help your mowing.
Yeah, we're mowing more weeds than dust.
The weeds, I was gonna say, the weeds seem to keep going.
Yeah.
We still want it to look nice. You don't
Right.
want it looking shabby by the grass being unkept and everything.
Right.
No, but there's a fine line there.
Shane, do we have 2 mowers out at the airport or just one mower?
There's the one main mower, the Toro, that the FAA and MnDOT helped us purchase back in 2004, I think. That went down. Once in a while we'll bring a Parks mower out there and go around the building and the small stuff, because that mower is a lot for going around the small stuff. So, but other than that, that's the main mower out there. So.
You ever think about getting like a batwing mower, they call it,
Yeah.
or pull behind your tractor?
I think it's on the CIP for like 2025 or 2026, so it's in the works. And we planned on, that was one of the plans with the tractor we have at the shop. It can blow snow in the wintertime and cut grass in the summer. It helped utilize it more.
Yeah.
So
I guess I don't know. I think they get up to 12 feet.
20.
3 different sections so that it kind of follows the ground.
Yeah, it's about 22 feet is the one we were looking at.
Okay.
And they're not too expensive. They're right around the $30,000 mark with the state contract. So I'd say it's not a huge expense in the grand scheme of things, but.
I was glad to see that the 4th Street's going to be seal coated by the county.
Should be. That was their plan anyway, so I haven't talked to them in a couple months, but.
So you don't know when that'll happen?
No, they kind of just do their thing.
Under the compost site, I see your dilemma of not being able to, limitations of when you can burn, but I'm
Yep.
wondering also about the concrete pile. Is there anyone we could get or would be interested in paying to break up that concrete pile? And
In the past, I know, last time Kendall crushed it all and then he just hauled out the material. It sounds like he's maybe interested in doing that again. Pam, might you have something to say on that? But everybody else that we talked to, they would want to do it as a service. They don't really want all the material. Then we're looking at $100,000 to get rid of it. So we've been kind of straying away from taking any of that material. I know we bring some of our own stuff there, but we've been kind of heading them towards Kendall if we can. So I know we do get some illegal dumping out there. We just hauled a recliner and a couch out here a few weeks ago, and people just kind of hide it back in the trees. And after a while, we'll go look for something or mow it or something. We find it out there, and I don't know why they want to abuse it, but it's just tough. So.
how long has it been since we've had that concrete crushed out there?
Right.
Oh, it's been a while.
12 years ago, 13 years ago.
That long?
Yep. And I don't think he got through the whole pile to begin with when he got done last time, but I think he got through most of it. But I think this next time, kind of discussion is we're going to quit taking it completely. If we can have other means of hauling it away.
And what you're saying, there really isn't much value to it as far as someone utilizing it as an aggregate.
If you had the equipment to crush it, then there's some value to it, but like for us, I mean, really there isn't much. Pretty much what you take in for revenue is you'd have to pay someone to crush it, so it's really not worth the headache to have.
We have good signage out there, and I don't know what more you can do, Shane, out there.
I know we've had cameras out there and people shoot them.
We've tried to police it, to put someone out there. That doesn't work.
We have caught a few people. I know Jason gets some calls. He just got one a week ago, but they're just picking asparagus. They just happen to have a brand new fridge in the back end of their truck. I can get rid of the fridge. I just out here looking for asparagus. So they just happen, then they got called in, and weird things happen. But we just respond to them as we get calls in, and hopefully we can catch someone at some point. But just whether they leave evidence or not that's the tough part. So. Same with people hauling from out of town. That's hard to police too.
You think that happens?
Oh, yeah.
An item you had about under spraying weeds at the ponds. I assume that's the algae and stuff, the aquatic plants on the sewage ponds, and you're trying to control, or what is that?
That's so. To keep the integrity of riprap, we got to spray the trees and weeds that grow in between the rocks. Otherwise,
sure.
say those trees grow up and it starts moving the rocks around, it's gonna. It destroys the integrity and the ability for the clay liner to seal.
Okay, sure.
So we just make sure we get them while they're small. So we'll spray out there probably 3-4 times a year.
I wouldn't do that much.
Yep.
And the algae and stuff in the ponds, that's just...
It comes and goes with the season. Yep. Really doesn't. We haven't had an issue where we had to treat it with anything at this point. So.
Anybody else have anything for Shane? Thank you, Shane.
Thanks, Shane.
Shane is also out the rest of this week too, so just for your information. If you have any questions, certainly you can direct them to me or whatever. I think, is it my turn now?
It is your turn.
Okay. All right, so people want to know about Aloha Night, and I'll give you a couple numbers. I don't know all the numbers yet. I know we made some money. I know we made money on burgers, bands, and brews. We're still kind of waiting what the final amount is, but we sold about 93 entry tickets to the event. That's about 50% more than last year, and we sold 306 raffle tickets. So that's actually quite a few, actually. And no, Kurt Anderson did not buy them all.
Just seemed like it.
It just seemed like it. That's right. We'll have a full accounting of that and burgers, bands, and brew at a meeting in August. I'm sure we'll give you an idea of how much money. Because there'll be some donations to the school and donations to the community foundation, and we'll want to do like a kind of a check presentation for that too at City Council at some point. So we'll work on that piece of it. These events, they take a lot of work. I mean, Diane and Jeff and I were talking about how none of us are getting any younger, and we all felt pretty wasted on Saturday morning, and not because we were drinking, but because it's a lot of work to put into that. Every single department head has put in work into all of these events, some of these events, as well as a good portion of the staff all the way around. It takes a lot of work. I think it's worth it for a couple reasons, not just because of the economic development thing that I said earlier, but this is about building a community that people want to be a part of, kind of showing all of the things that we can do. And what's great about these events is you bring people together you don't even normally see together. The movies in park, when Jeff was talking about how many people came to that first one, and it was a wonderful young and old, diverse crowd of people, and it's just nice to see people come together. You'll see that on National Night Out here in another week as well. Same kind of thing. It's just tremendous to see people coming out in the community, and I think people want to live in a community that does those kinds of things, and so it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. It makes me really tired, but it was a lot of fun. So that was Aloha Night. I did want to mention we're still diligently working on the comprehensive plan. It's really, really close, but I want to make sure that we put a product in front of you because it's a long-term thing. And so want to make sure we put a product in front of you that works for us. And so I'm still working with them on that. I thought I would have it by now, but it's just not ready yet. The last thing I want to mention is kind of the budget schedule in terms of where we're at. Krista kind of alluded to that earlier. She is working very diligently on that. The staff met just like we did last year, and we kind of prioritized those capital projects, so you'll see that information. What we want to do next is that we want to have a meeting with you to kind of go over those capital projects and some of kind of the financial estimates about what we think we might be able to afford and not afford, that kind of thing. Because I know that last meeting that we had, everybody was like, oh my goodness, look at all these things and that was kind of the reality meeting. My hope is that this next meeting is, okay, here's the plan for where we think we might go with this. But we also want to get you to prioritize. Do we want to spend money on the pool liners? Do we want to spend money at the airport? Do we want to spend money at the community center? I mean, there's all these different choices that you have to make. We have 5 weeks in August this year, so normally we have kind of a 3-week span because we have 5 Mondays in August this year. We kind of have an extra week almost. So what we were hoping to do is kind of set a meeting with you for that last week of August. And I wanted to see if that worked for your all's calendar, for a kind of a study session on the budget for that last week of August.
On the Monday?
It doesn't have to be that Monday. It could be any day that week. But we could do it. We could do it that Monday.
I think Mondays seem to work.
I'll be gone Sunday through Wednesday.
This is why I'm asking this question.
Well, we don't need the mayor.
Do you ever stay home?
We could do Thursday that week. It's if people are available.
September, but in September.
It is September at that point, you're right, my fault.
But that shouldn't matter, I know.
It doesn't matter, no. This still meets with our schedule. Chris and I have talked about doing that last week. We have to bring you a preliminary budget a little bit later, and we will bring you some budget estimates in the next meeting. That'll be real high-level stuff, like how much revenue we think and generally how much expenditure we're going to have. It won't be anything, too granular, but does that Thursday, be the 1st of September, work for people?
6 o'clock.
Not before.
Should work.
Okay.
Plan it.
But no,
Go ahead, what?
no, I was just going to say, it sounds like that works okay. I haven't heard any objections, so.
As long as Diane reminds me.
So for you?
September 1?
September 1 for a budget study session?
Library if it's.
Yeah, at the library if it's available. Yep.
Is that the first football game of the season for the school?
Normally do a Friday, wouldn't they?
No, because of Labor Day.
That's boxcar days.
Thursday.
Goodness, I didn't even
That's
think
the
about
first
that.
football on the first? Holy moly.
It was different last year.
Oh, if we could,
Because I remembered that it was that Friday last
Last
year.
year was an anomaly.
An anomaly.
can we start it at 5:30?
Because the game's at 7.
I'm fine with
I
that.
could make 5:30 work.
George, gotta feed the cows earlier.
So do you
the
plan
best
on
I
going to
can.
games then?
The other option, I'm just going to throw this out, is that we could do it the previous week. We'd have 2 meetings that week, but, so if you want to do it, let's say the 24th or 25th.
I'm gone those days.
What? Don't you ever stay home?
I never go anywhere, so.
Let's just go with it and see what happens.
September 1st at 5:30?
What night do they set up for the 10th for Labor Day weekend?
Thursday night, I bet.
But they don't do it until, it'll be that evening.
Like 6, 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
See,
Get out
there's
of
a
it.
good excuse for you to get out of it that
Yeah.
night.
You're welcome.
Okay.
There was
Let's
a
give that a
meeting
shot.
as well.
Okay, September 1st, 5:30. Library basement if it's available. Okay, that's all I have unless anybody has any questions about my report.
The activities we have in the summertime, I think, are great, but we need to carry those over throughout the winter so we can start using the VMC.
That's a good question, because we did the one movie in the VMC last year, and I think Jeff probably would want to do that again this year, although we haven't discussed it. Do you have any thoughts about that? We've kicked around a few ideas, but what do you think we should do?
Well, I had one person approach me on shuffleboard,
Okay,
and he wants to start teams and tournaments.
yeah,
Shuffleboard league.
Yeah, shuffleboard lead.
yeah.
That was one of them.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, if there's anybody who wants to do a league, I know I kicked around the idea of a volleyball league in the winter, because they had the volleyball nets, we could set those up.
Pickleball was another one.
Pickleball, I know that Connie Anderson has talked about that, and the park board has discussed pickleball, and they did actually, Connie at one point had set up a net in there, and they were kind of doing a demonstration thing for us. I think something like that to use the inside of the VMC would be great, yeah. Like on a Sunday afternoon or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Will that affect anything though? Because I'm sure they'll have to make lines.
Well, we
I
could
don't
probably
know,
put some
but
I don't know, to be honest with you, how all that would work. But I know that, people do a lot of horseshoes, right now. And, Ken Witt, has been involved in that league. And so, I got to think if there's some people that, you're right, we are really lacking for those activities in the winter. I know. I sit at home a lot on Sunday afternoons in the winter because there's like nowhere to go. So I think that's a great suggestion.
Those are good ideas, but I think really things like pickleball and shuffleboard or whatever it is, they should fall under the purview of Tracy Community Education through the school district. And somehow I think we need a better partnership here with the school and Tracy Community Education. Who is our representative from the council on community education?
Who?
There's, yeah, and me, I'm on that board too.
Well, who's taking whose spot?
Yeah, who is that guy?
Let me say a couple things. I think this is an important point, actually. We've actually tried a couple of things with them recently. You know, we tried the volleyball league, and that didn't work out. We did do a art program actually through them that did work out, and that was in the library basement, and we helped Bill by bringing in an artist that Val knew and was able to kind of put together this art program for kids. I think that community education has been mostly focused on kids, and it's kind of missing a gap a little bit, which is why I felt like, you know, the city needed to step in and maybe do some of these other things, like we did, like the Bone Builders, you know, program, for example. But I don't know why that couldn't be a community ed program, Bone Builders. So why community ed has been more focused on kids? I think it's just kind of natural because it's at the school and Bill knows the kids, you know. But I think that if it's your desire to do more, to add in, you know, adult programming, not that we shouldn't keep doing kids and even expand that if we can, but in community ed, yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. Would the city council be interested in maybe even, because some of this is financial, because when you do these programs, sometimes they cost money. You know, like the art program, and you have to provide a space for that. You have materials for that, for example. So, you know, would the council be interested in doing some of these programs and maybe even charging some fees for it, like if you did a shuffleboard, you know, league or something else?
I think we have to keep, if we're going to charge a fee, it has to be very minimal.
Reasonable.
Very
yeah.
minimal.
Usually these are like $20 or something.
There's where, and hopefully the bills won't come after me for this, but that extra $1,000 we did not give them, maybe we could use that money for this.
Yep.
Not, you know, to get that rolling a little bit.
I think we want to talk with Bill and see if we can work more with him.
Remember when they used to send those books out and used to have all kinds of activities?
Yeah.
And
I think that's a fantastic idea, and maybe we just need to, you know, set up a meeting with Bill, and you know, if someone from the council wants to be a representative in that, you know, meeting, you know, we can do that. I hear what you're saying. Your desire is that we work more together, and we do more stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess depending when you have that meeting, I would be open to sit in on one or two or three.
Sure.
Well, since you're giving your EDA position to Tom, you can take Koo's community ed one.
Voila!
You got me, Jerry. You got me. I guess I would do the best I can.
Well, I mean,
just
you
there's certain
volunteered to
times of the
go.
year I'm really unavailable.
And the
Well, I don't
school will
know
have
how
some of the
often
equipment
they-
already too.
I don't think they meet real often.
But, I'd like to see more things happen in there. And my question is, where the volleyball thing didn't work, was that because we priced the VMC out of their dollar rate?
This was
I-
out.
That would have been sand volleyball. I don't
You're
know
talking
why.
about sand volleyball?
Yeah, I was talking about sand volleyball. I don't know why that didn't work. That's a question for Bill more than me.
Sand volleyball didn't go on.
No, it didn't go.
Darn
It
it.
didn't go because we didn't. I guess they didn't get teams signed up, and I don't know. Why. That's a question for Bill. I don't know why. You know, we rely on them to, you know, do that.
Set some meetings before he gets too busy and have a visit.
Yep.
I would be willing to sit in.
Okay. We'll see what we can do. I think that's fantastic. I love it. I'm glad you guys are enthusiastic about that. I think this is, I mean, we've had a lot of success with these kind of summer events, and there's no reason why we can't keep having more success.
Especially in Minnesota, you need something in your time.
No kidding. I'll tell you what. I understand that personally. Not a lot to do on a Sunday afternoon when it's 10 degrees outside.
I just wish, I wish we could solve the acoustics over here.
I'll tell you what, it is terrible, isn't it?
Oh, it's bad,
Oof.
bad. But, we're talking bucks.
I almost said oofta there for a second there. I'm starting to sound like I've lived here for a while.
Well, you've been here long enough to pick up them the words.
I've got it on my list. I'll work on the community ed connection.
Okay.
That's all I have, Mayor. And then I think next
Resolution?
we have one resolution, and this is a paving maintenance project, which is Shane's stuff. Yep.
All right, so as you saw in the memo, there's a pavement maintenance project this year. Part of that includes, it's pretty much the 2 blocks of North Street, most of 2 blocks, kind of where phase 1 ended. I know they went up North Street a little bit on the east end, and then Otis Court. That would include leveling. There's some kind of dips in North Street too that need to be leveled out too before they pave it. And then they'd mill the edges and then put a little bit more crown on the road so it drains to the curb. It's another road that doesn't like to drain, similar to Sunrise Drive.
North and Otis.
Yeah, Otis Court is, you're not familiar with where that is. It's only like a block long dead end. There's an alley on the end of it. It's 1 block east of Center Street, right off of Highway 14. So there's about just about $1,000 difference between the 2 contractors, and M&R Paving came back cheaper on this one. So.
I believe they do good work also.
Yeah, we've had them in the past in town. It's been a few years. I know in the 2007, 2008 street light replacement downtown, I know they were the contractor for the patchwork there. So I guess I don't have any complaints on their work or anything either. So
Does this number fall in with what we had budgeted?
Yeah, we budgeted $88,000, and so we'll end up spending the rest of the money on crack sealing, but we don't have a vendor for that yet, and that falls below where we required to bring it to you when it's over $50,000, which is why you're seeing this here. But the crack sealing will be also done this year too. And we'll have a minimal amount of potholing, but not as much. In fact, Shane was telling me earlier today, and this is actually, maybe Shane wants to expand on this, that we're spending a lot less money now on potholing because we've done so much work on the streets, and so that's kind of, it's a small benefit, but it's still a benefit because it means that we don't have to continue to do that. Throw good money after bad, essentially, on those potholes.
there's some areas that poke through on some of the seal coating, but those are Roland Street's an example, and First Street East. I mean, this is too far gone to really do anything with at this point. You know, we've discussed that in the past, but it just needs a project. But it's gonna be a few years down the road before that sees something. But
Gene, how a few years down the road, what do you think that's going to be for First Street? That's
kind of depends on how Center Street comes out and how the economy does, and what's the city's ability to, bond for any more projects in the future. So
2029 or 2030.
yeah, it's going to be quite a ways out.
So as far as just making the street drivable for now, it's just filling the potholes and
Yeah.
making do, that's about the best we can do for now.
Right. Until there may be a point where we just can't keep up with the potholes anymore. There's nothing to stick to, and we may have to have it milled and leave millings there. But I like to keep it as intact for as long as we can anyway. So even if it does take a little bit more patching, but yeah, it's been patched since I started here almost 15 years ago. So it's definitely been a problem area for many years. Just can't really do anything with that until we can get the sewer fixed on Center Street for it to get the right fall and get things a little deeper so they last longer.
But then all the underground infrastructure on that street have to be replaced also, so
Yeah.
it's a total rebuild.
It's all for sure early 1900s, if not even older. I think the hydrants they took out of that area were 1908. Water mains are the same age, so not too many problems there other than valves and hydrants, but it's gonna be at some point here. So
On a different note, I drove the little street between the bus garage and Greenwood Nursery. Seems like you're kind of getting some of those holes filled in. Is there any way you can blade that a time or two before the buses start pounding on it?
if it rains, it would help.
Yeah.
Right now we can't even get the blade in it. It just, you can pick the blade up and it just lifts the back end up. It's so dang hard. So, and if we do it, it's just gonna make dust. You're gonna have the pothole right back. So
My only question or suggestion is just keep on it.
yeah, I'd say once we get some moisture, all the alleys in town too need to be graded. Just even the grader behind the tractor just bounces off the top because so we just haven't had any moisture to be able to move it right now. So
Thank you.
you bet. Anything else?
I noticed in your report you're planning to spray the curbs and gutters for weeds.
Yeah, we started. We just need to continue on now. But
Would it be feasible for the guy, the crew that's doing that, to bring around the weed whip and trim around some of the street signs and stuff that, I don't know, there's a lot of spots in town where the homeowner does not do any trimming, and you've got thistles that are 3 feet tall. I don't know if that's feasible at all.
I know I've been hounding homeowners as part of the weed inspection program. In fact, I just talked to one at 5:30 this afternoon that called me back, and hopefully we can get people. The problem is the only thing growing right now is weeds, so people aren't mowing their lawns because they don't want to kill their grass. Well, it's already dormant, but the weeds are still alive
Very
and well.
aggressive.
And they're more noticeable, and two, they tend to be growing a lot taller this year than normal because the mower's not going over them as much. So.
In some spots, that's obvious the thistle's been growing a long time.
Yeah, some of them are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to stay after them and say if there's an area where it's just gravel, we'll hit them with the sprayer or whatever too. But
good.
We don't really have the manpower to go around and weed everybody's.
No, I know that. It's just some of them spots look so horrible.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-73 to accept and award the quote for a pavement maintenance project.
Second.
First and second, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Landay.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Teagues.
Aye.
Tobin.
Yes.
Jones.
Aye.
Mayor Corman.
Aye.
Jerry, that was for Mr.
Mister to do it?
Mr. Page.
Yeah. I didn't hear you say who it was for.
Oh,
The lowest one?
yeah, the lowest bid.
The lowest bid, yeah, you'd be required to do the lowest bid.
Very good.
Okay, if anybody doesn't have anything else,
Motion adjourned.
We got one more.
what?
What?
Well, I had this in here about the gambling. Is that old?
That was in the
already
beginning.
done.
Oh, it's left
Yeah.
over in my book. Huh?
Yep.
Sorry.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I thought we had did that,
Tom,
but
I
it's
don't
right
think
there in front of me.
Are we pacing the council meetings a little better now, Jerry?
Well, she